gun rights are women's rights. Friend of the show, Amy Robbins, are coming to San Diego.
Ooh, a lot of companies are frustrated with their website. It looks old. It's out of date. It's not getting customers. But Sage Tree gets it. Since 2005, Sage Tree has been helping companies with websites that look great, work great, and get leads. Stop being frustrated by your website and get one that you're proud to share. Contact Sage Tree today to get a website that makes the phone ring. Getting started is super easy. Call 866-728-9100. That's 866-728-9100 and fix your website today.
Very cool. Well, we talked to Kiara at the beginning of the show where she talked about a really cool event that's coming up called Gun Rights or Women's Rights. It's happening on San Diego State's campus in just a few weeks. So we're having at least one of the guest speakers on the show. She's a friend of the show. She's been on here before. Amy Robbins, how are you?
Hey, guys. It's so great to be back on. Y'all are seriously my favorite show to do in all of California. So thanks for having me on.
You say that to all the Second Amendment radio shows in San Diego.
I don't. I'm like, seriously, what you guys are doing. I mean, you're so informative. I just absolutely love what you're doing. And I learned so much. I mean, California is not getting enough credit for some of the cool things that you guys are doing. So
thank you, Amy.
For what you do.
I love that. Yeah. That's awesome. We need to have her on more, Dave.
Well, but see, California's doing their very best to keep us squelched.
That's right.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm like, nobody knows that stuff. And so listening to you, they're definitely getting all that information.
Well,
so
I got to tell you,
love being a part of it.
Well, thank you, Amy. We love having you on. I got to tell you, we were a little behind on this. We had our monthly meetings last week, and Kiara came by and she said, "Hey, I got this thing that's happening, and I was wondering if I could talk about it." And so we let her talk. She's very articulate. She's a student at San Diego State. She is working with Turning Point, and which is a really cool organization. They're awesome. They've actually flown me to a couple of different campuses to give a talk about the Second Amendment. It's a very cool organization. And she told us all about this event, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea this was happening. This is awesome. I wish we were a part of it. I wish we were deeper into it.
I mean, definitely next time. So I've been a part of this event once before. I don't know how often they're doing it, but it is one of my favorite events to go to, obviously, because it's very female focused. And I love the angle that they're taking on this because they are, Turning Point is doing a fantastic job with the culture wars and what's going on. And they are on the front lines with this younger generation that is truly standing up for our Second Amendment. And I love to see that happen. And the angle that they're taking this, I love, which is gun rights are women's rights. Because, we are seeing that women have rights in every single other area in our society, except when it comes to how we want to defend and protect ourselves. I think it's such an odd backward thing that every way that we can, we're fighting for women's rights, except we're fighting to take away women's rights when we talk about banning firearms, banning certain types of high capacity magazines, putting taxes on ammo. I mean, just all these things that a lot of these politicians are wanting to implement are definitely going to hurt women. And so I love this opportunity to go and talk about the Second Amendment through this angle. I think it's a great event.
It is, and that's exactly the angle is important. I talk a lot about, to activists, if we are talking to people that, aren't necessarily on board with gun ownership, and we talk about it from our perspective, hey, it's the Constitution. And for example, and they don't care about the Constitution. If you don't give a rip about the Constitution and you're sitting there telling them, well, this is important because it's in the Constitution, they don't care. You're not going to convince them. But, so many people care about women, about the safety of women, about the, women's rights. So if you relate to them through that angle, through that lens, I think they're far more likely to go, oh, all right, I get it. Yeah, this really does.
I mean, 100%. Most of the time when we go to these events, a lot of what we see, the pushback that we get as to why people, especially this younger generation, may be anti-gun, a lot of it is very, very fear-driven. You think about when they were growing up, I mean, when I was growing up, school shootings were not happening. And yet for this younger generation, that is what they associate with firearms. So them wanting to be anti-firearm is really about the fear aspect of it. Most of them haven't shot firearms. Most of them have not had encounters yet in their lives where their personal safety has been threatened. And so most of them don't look at the firearm as an equalizer. Even these young girls, they're told, oh, just go take some jujitsu, just carry some mace, which I'm not opposed to those being in your toolbox. But to look at the firearm as your ultimate equalizer, we have an opportunity here to go and change some hearts and minds by hopefully getting them to see that they do possess that ability to learn how to use firearms. It doesn't have to be a scary thing. And if they can just get their hands on it and get some training, then that can lessen that fear and actually increase their confidence and empower them to go out into the world and live more confidently. So we're actually holding a training session before the speaking event to invite women, and I think it's open to everybody, but I think most of it's women that's coming to this event to get their hands on, guns and see that it's not as scary as the media makes it out to be.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is. It legally has to be open to everyone, but they're emphasizing, hey, it's really meant for women. So,
gotcha.
So yeah, we talked a little bit about that. It's a discount gun mart. You have to, of course, register and sign up to attend. So talk a little bit about that. What are you guys going to, if you're a woman who, is it geared towards women who've never touched a gun before, or is it intermediate, or we'll talk a little bit about the kind of training?
So it's geared towards anyone that wants to come and learn about it. So, I mean, this is definitely going to be more of a beginner-focused class. I'm sure there's going to be people that have never touched a firearm all the way up to girls who have their license to carry and everything in between. But it's mostly going to be, presenting. We get asked all the time, what is the best gun for me to shoot as a woman? And I'm like, well, I can't really tell you that, because that's like me telling you what's the best shoe to wear.
Right.
What do you need this shoe for? What are you going to use it for? There's so many factors, and to talk to somebody about it without them actually getting their hands on a bunch of different options to shoot to see what they're comfortable with, it's really hard to, like we said, break that barrier of fear for them. So I hope to just get as many people through there. We've got some great, wonderful instructors who are there to just make you feel as comfortable and as safe as possible, that are just going to help you get your hands on a lot of different options so you can see what you like. Because what I like may not be what somebody else wants to shoot, may not be what they want to carry or keep in their house or whatever.
The range you guys are going to is it's a nice little range too. It's a nice big range. It's indoors. It's they have a really nice classroom. You guys have a great facility that you're going to be working with. So what do you think is the most? We try to do training all the time. In fact, 2 to 4 times a month we do what we call our shooting socials, where we teach people to shoot. We basically give them a first time shooting experience. They've never typically or have very little experience or never touched a gun before. And I got to tell you, 3/4 of the folks who come are women. And we don't really target women. We don't go out and say, hey, this is, for women, or we don't, go to women's groups necessarily. It's just, that's, the dynamic is changing. The demographic's changing. But the folks who are listening who help out at these shooting socials, they're all volunteers, they're all wonderful. What would you say is the most important thing that they need to do or say, or what's the most important message they need to get across, in that first 2 hours with a brand new shooter? What's the most important thing that the shooter needs to walk away from, learning or knowing?
First and foremost, just from an instructor standpoint, just going in there and not trying to be a know-it-all and say, like, this is the only way that you have to do things, but hoping that they can kind of lower that barrier to be very patient with the first-time gun owners, and mostly just teaching them the very basics and letting them see that once they pull that trigger, the gun is not going to explode on its own.
Right.
This is how a firearm operates. I think the biggest thing, especially for me when I was getting into firearms, was just learning how the gun operates and knowing that, I have to pull the trigger myself in order for that gun to go off. And it's, once I did that over and over again and got comfortable with it, which is what I hope new shooters get at the range, is just plenty of trigger time. Learning how to rack a slide is big, because that's a big part that's very intimidating for a lot of women. loading magazines, racking a slide, loading one in the chamber is very intimidating. So if you can be patient and help them get over those first few bumps, then I think that they will walk away feeling extremely empowered that they know how to operate a tool that could potentially save their lives.
I honestly, so I got my first firearm was a Glock 19. I was 21 years old. I got to tell you, I think the first 6, 7, 8 years that I owned that firearm, I don't think it was until I took a formal multi-day class that I think I was intimidated by my gun, for that first 6, 7, 8 years, to be perfectly frank and honest with you. I think I was scared of the gun. It was that, learning, taking a formal multi-day class is really what got me over. And I say scared. It's not like I was, in tears crying, but I was definitely not comfortable with the – Dave, stop laughing at me. I was definitely not comfortable as I should have been until I took that formal class, which is what I mean by being afraid of the gun.
I completely agree with you because I was the same way, and it wasn't until I got into this because I started hosting a show for the NRA, so they kind of threw me in the deep end, and just I got my hands on every single platform, every type of model I wanted to shoot, and it was scary, very scary at first to me because I didn't know which way the safety was on or off, or if it was up or down, or all those kind of things were very intimidating. But the more I shot and the more I got comfortable, I cannot tell you just how incredibly empowering. I mean, that's the best word I can come up with. Is how I felt once I learned it. So,
PRMI Mortgage, primeres.com/Alpine. Hey, if you're looking to buy, refi, or if you're just considering a reverse mortgage, you need to call our local mortgage guy that you can trust. Call Chris Wiley at PRMI Mortgage. For nearly 25 years, Chris has been helping local San Diegans with all their mortgage needs. They make it easy. Worked with a friendly, expert team that will help you get the best deal on a mortgage. Give Chris a call at 619-722-1303 or just go to primeres.com/Alpine.
We're talking to Amy Robbins, who is going to be out here. When is the event, Amy?
It is Monday, November 7th, I believe.
That's the day before the election.
Yep.
Yeehaw.
Holy cow.
Hey, Amy, I heard you're moving to Canada.
Yeah, right.
Mike's going.
Not a chance. I mean, that's just crazy what's going on there. But you know what? I mean, I hope that Beto doesn't win here in Texas and make Texas like Canada.
How
Beto.
in the world can anybody be on his side?
Oh, well, you asked that, and then hit that Senate race between him and Cruz, I guess a few years ago, was way too close for comfort. And the crazy thing, most people blamed it on the Californians that were moving to Texas, and that actually wasn't the case. It was a lot of native Texans that were voting for him. I mean, I was really shocked with that stat.
Texas isn't that red. It's not that red. People.
No, but he's stupid.
Well, I agree with that.
I mean, okay, I'm going to give Texans a little more credit. I mean, look at the way, it's just mind-boggling.
Here's the shocking stat is that only 11% of the voter base even voted in that last election.
Oh,
so
geez.
if people don't, they just don't seem to come out for those races. And if people don't wake up and really pay attention to what Beto is, what he's running on, what he stands for, what his voting record has been, we're not very far from completely flipping this state. And people think that our gun rights, we just got constitutional carry passed. Thank you, Governor Abbott, for getting that done. But we're not far away from that getting reversed and overturned and then becoming a state that is really not very friendly to the Second Amendment, which is really kind of scary.
Are you guys pretty happy with Abbott?
On certain issues, I am. I mean, obviously, I don't think you're going to 100% agree with any politician that's in office. But I was very thankful that, our House and our Senate put pressure on him to get that constitutional carry signed. And I'm thankful for that because, that has helped a lot of Texans, especially during the pandemic when people were going out and buying their first-time firearms. Then they're going out and they're getting trained and they're saying, I don't feel safe. I don't feel, Dallas has a lot of crime. We're in the DFW area and violent crime is on the rise here and people just don't feel safe. They don't feel like the cops are being able to take care of them. And so that constitutional carry has been extremely important for people to start taking a hold of their own safety and doing something about it. So I was very glad with that.
Well, it is, out here in San Diego, we are encouraging people. We've endorsed a lady for sheriff, and she's wonderful. She's been wonderful with CCWs. We have a wonderful relationship with her, and the Republican is horrible on many levels, and she's a Democrat. And encouraging people to vote for a Democrat has been particularly tough because the last few years, Democrats have just gone so crazy when it comes to their views on crime and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So trying to encourage people to vote for a Democrat sheriff, even though she's
interesting.
Yeah, even though she doesn't share it, she doesn't share any of those views. She's actually increased the budget for the sheriff's department, and she's been great. She's been wonderful. But just the idea that Democrats, in so many ways, have increased crime, essentially, and decreased law enforcement, it's been really difficult. It's a huge challenge.
Well, that's kind of when you hope that the people who do care, that might be single issue voters, you do hope that they start paying attention to where this, because look, Second Amendment is my number one issue when I'm voting, and it's because that is the one that protects all of your other rights.
Yep.
And so I'm like, if people don't pay attention to who they're voting for, and they're going to lose that right, and then they're going to wake up one day and be like, oh, I need to go. My family's not safe. I need to go get a gun. Oh, but I can't. Oh, who did I vote for? And you need to really think about it because your elections do have consequences. And I am thankful in San Diego. I actually heard it's pretty not easy. I mean, I know you have to go through a little bit more process than we might have to here in Texas, but she's pretty good about issuing concealed carry permits. Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
So even before she's currently the undersheriff. But even before she became undersheriff, we solved that problem. You could get a CCW in San Diego. It's been wonderful. And then the Bruin case, even the big thing was the good cause. You had to have proof of good cause, but we pretty much turned that into a minor formality, and then that just completely went away. And then she's hired more staff, and then they've gotten a lot more efficient. They were issuing like 150 to 200 CCWs a month. And then last month, they issued over 1,000. So
wow! Again, you guys just don't get credit for that. That just doesn't make a lot of news. People harp on California. I think because they think LA and San Francisco.
Yeah.
They think that those are the rules of the day, and that's where everybody has to fall in line with that. But I'm like, no, there really are, conservatively speaking, when it comes to the Second Amendment, places that are very much Second Amendment friendly places in California. You just don't hear about them.
Well, we're working on it. I mean, really is it's not just a legal or political change, but we're really working on it has to be a cultural change.
Yeah, it does.
And and they're kind of hand in hand. I go back and forth. It depends on the week. If you ask me which one comes first, the cultural change or the political change, and they're kind of hand in hand. They kind of have to move together to change.
Well, they do. And I actually think it's very similar to how we see women start moving in the direction of thinking about firearms for their safety. A lot of women, something has to happen to them before they actually start thinking that way.
Which is unfortunate.
It's very unfortunate. They're very reactive. I was very reactive. It wasn't until I got followed and harassed that I even thought I need to go get my license to carry. But most people are that way. And I think the one thing through COVID and the pandemic that we saw was as this crime and violent crime was rising across the country, people were finally like, you know what? Maybe I need to be a little bit more proactive, no matter which side of the political aisle they fell on. I mean, all my Democrat friends were running out and buying firearms. And it was really funny. The ones that lived in California were like, did you know I can't just take my gun home? And I'm like, no, I did know that. Did you know, I've been telling you that for a really long time?
Well,
I did know that.
The cultural change, but this event that you're doing, that's a big, if they see, they're going to look up on stage. I think she said you're going to have about 300 people there. And I think we're going to actually go over that. But you're going to have over 300 people there. And they're going to look up on stage, and they're going to see a couple of kick-ass women talking about how important this is, and that is a big help when it comes to changing the culture.
I hope so. I mean, I really do. You can't say that.
I can't say women on the radio? No.
Well, I mean, I hope so. That is when I go and I do these events. I mean, the most powerful thing any of us have, and especially as women, is we have our story. We have our stories to share of how we had our aha moments and what brought us to the point of realizing that we needed a firearm. No one can argue with that. You can sit and try to argue with stats and laws all day long, but you can't argue with my story. You can't argue with the real fear that I felt when I was out running that day. And you can't argue that I realized when it's 7 guys that were following me in a van, mace wasn't going to cut it. I was never going to outrun them. I could never fight them off. The only equalizer in that opportunity would have been a firearm, and I didn't have one.
Wow.
And, I said, I will never, ever be in a situation again where I feel helpless and defenseless, and I feel like I'm the underdog. And I would have considered myself a very strong, independent woman, but I couldn't have taken care of myself in that situation. That was extremely eye-opening for me. And, no one can argue with that and tell me that I am wrong in that situation for wanting to protect myself how I want to. And I just hope with that message that, it resonates with some other women who maybe found themselves in a similar situation, or maybe it gets them to start thinking a little bit more proactively about their safety so they don't find themselves in a situation like I did. That would be my biggest hope for all of us.
So that's the kind of thing that you guys are going to be talking. It's you and Antonia. You guys are going to be. You guys are the speakers, and those are the types of. That's the kind of information they're going to get. That's the type of story you're going to be talking about. Is how you got to where you're at.
Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
Just sharing with the audience for teaching them why this is for women, why these are women's rights, because we come up against this all the time, and especially Antonia, because Antonia is the one that actually trademarked that phrase, gun rights are women's rights. This has been her platform for a very long time, and the work she's doing with Gun Owners of America is absolutely amazing. And she started an organization called Empowered 2A, that my company and her have been working together since both of us started our businesses. And so, she has just really turned this into an amazing movement. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to open it up to questions, because I love hearing, I think having an actual dialogue is very important when we have these kind of speeches. It's not just us up there speaking. This is very, it's a very dialogue conversation where they get to ask questions, we answer, and we share our stories. And then, hopefully we get to change some hearts and minds at the end of it.
Well, my little buddy Action Jackson, Action Jackson, you've talked to him before. He's our co-host. He's 9 years old, and he shoots weekly with his 9mm Glock. And we just found out he got a 9mm SIG, so he's spoiled. He's got a question for you. Last time he asked you this question, you said that the answer varies, so we want to see if it's the same answer this time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go for it, Action Jackson.
What's your favorite gun?
Good question.
Why did I feel like I knew that question was coming? And I would love to be able to tell you that I have just one favorite, but I don't. That's like asking me to choose my favorite pair of shoes. I absolutely right now, I am loving my SIG P365. That is pretty much my everyday carry when I'm running out and about and running errands. When I actually go on a run, I'm typically carrying something smaller like a Springfield 911 or my Ruger LCP. Don't judge me, all of you that are out there in the gun world.
And how do you carry when you're out running?
And my Alexos, of course. So, I don't leave home in really anything else other than Alexa these days, because we've just made it so simple and so comfortable and so easy to carry.
Give your website. Yep.
AlexoAthletica.com, or just Google Alexo and we'll pop up.
Okay, Amy, I got to give you a really quick story just to show you how much scrutiny we're under. We had Melissa Lee, who doing a holster demonstration. And she brought a blue gun in, which is nothing more than a fake gun. Facebook and Facebook and YouTube shut us down because she carried the gun in. So the following week, she brought a banana.
You gotta be an innovator.
You gotta be an innovator. Hey, it's good talking to you. It looks like the group's probably going to come out at least for the speech and listen to you, talk to the world.
Can't wait.
Great. I can't wait to see you guys. Thanks for having me on. I'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching this clip from Gun Owners Radio. You can watch us live every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, right here on our YouTube channel, or if you're in the San Diego area, you can listen to us on 1170 a.m. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform for free. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can help restore and protect the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.